What if I told you that tucked away in your old coin jar, buried beneath pennies and dimes, there could be a Canadian nickel, yes, just 5 cents, that collectors are willing to pay over $500,000 for? Sounds impossible, right? But the truth is, some of these seemingly ordinary coins, especially from Canada, hold secrets so rare, so shocking, that even seasoned collectors are stunned when they surface. These aren't coins you'd expect to be worth much. They're not gold, they're not fancy. They're nickels, some scratched, some dull, maybe even forgotten at the bottom of a kitchen drawer. But when the right coin pops up, oh, it can change everything. In today's video, we're diving into the top 5 most valuable and ultra-rare Canadian 5-cent coins ever discovered. Each one has a story, hidden errors, mysterious minting mistakes, or history etched into their tiny surfaces. And each one has a value that will absolutely blow your mind. One by one, the value will rise. The history will deepen. And by the end, you'll be looking at your spare change in a way you never have before. Are you ready? Because the first coin, it looks like nothing special. But its value? $325,000, and that's just where we begin. Imagine finding a coin in your change jar that looks ordinary, just a beaver, a date, and a little history clinging to its edges. But what if I told you that this exact 1961 Canadian 5-cent coin, yes, the one you're looking at, might be hiding a value that could send your heart racing? It may not look flashy, but don't let the worn nickel finish fool you. This little piece of metal has a story, and some versions of it have sold for over $300,000 in the wild world of rare coins. And here's why. This isn't just any 5-cent coin. It's a survivor from 1961, a year when the Royal Canadian Mint struck millions of these, yet only a few exceptional specimens escaped the factory with pristine condition or rare errors that collectors today will pay a small fortune to acquire. At first glance, you notice the iconic Canadian beaver, calm and proud, resting atop a log on rippling water. But here's the kicker. The design by George Kruger Gray, a royal artist of British origin, was created not just to represent Canada, but to symbolize industriousness and national pride during a post-war economic boom. Now flip it over, Queen Elizabeth II stares confidently into the future. This portrait was created just 9 years after her coronation, and even in your coin's circulated state, you can still see the full Latin legend, Elizabeth II by the grace of God Queen. That alone connects us to a time of royal transitions, Cold War tensions, and the early 60s, a turning point in North American history. Now here's where things get jaw-dropping. While your coin shows signs of honest circulation, there are ultra-rare uncirculated examples of this very same 1961 5-cent coin with sharp luster, zero blemishes, and perfect edges that have fetched up to $325,000 at auction. That's right, over 300 grand for a single coin. And that's not even the highest reported. The real shocker? A few error coins from this year, such as the double-die obverse, where the Queen's lettering appears doubled, or rare planchet flaws that cause minting abnormalities, are so scarce that even spotting one sends collectors into a bidding frenzy. Some of these errors have driven prices even higher, approaching the $400,000 mark, especially if graded MS-66 or above by PCGS or NGC. And if your 1961 coin happens to be from a specimen set or a proof-like strike, buckle up. Those are nearly impossible to find in circulation and have been known to cause auction floors to erupt in gasps. Even in its circulated form like yours, collectors can pay $15 to $75, depending on how many minor details remain intact. But with strong enough eye appeal and no major scratches, that value climbs sharply. If any hidden error is discovered under magnification, your coin could leap into the 5-figure range. So next time someone tells you a nickel isn't worth bending down for, you might want to ask if they've seen the right one. Because this 1961 Canadian 5 cent isn't just pocket change. It's a potential gold mine in disguise. And we're just getting started. Coming up next, a 5 cent coin with a twist that stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. And it's not the year you'd expect. Stay with me. You don't want to miss this one. Next up, we have another unassuming piece that has taken the numismatic world by storm. Take a good look at the 1984 Canada 1 cent coin. Now, before you brush it off as just another penny from the 80s, listen closely. Some versions of this coin have been known to fetch up to $350,000. That's not a typo. This little copper coin, if it has the right features, can outshine gold. At first glance, it's plain and ordinary. The obverse shows Queen Elizabeth II, as designed by Arnold Machine, with that youthful profile that many collectors remember from pocket change. The reverse? Canada's iconic maple leaves, sharp, pointed, and cradling the number 1. And yet, hidden in this coin's humble design is the potential for mind-blowing rarity. You see, 1984 was a year of high production. Over 878 million pennies were struck at the Royal Canadian Mint, so logically one would assume it's nothing special. But that's where the story begins. The sheer volume of coins means quality control can slip, and when it slips in the right way, the results can be financially explosive. Collectors have discovered a rare double-die obverse variety from this year. That means certain coins show a very noticeable doubling of the Queen's portrait, especially around her chin, lips, and hairline. In other cases, the date 1984 shows ghosted or split digits, especially the 8 and the 4, which can almost appear like they're vibrating. These kinds of doubling errors are not only rare, they're visually dramatic. In circulated condition, these coins go unnoticed in drawers and penny jars. But if you happen to find one with this doubling, even with some wear, it could be worth $1,500 to $9,000. Now here's where things really get wild. If you come across a mint state coin with that doubling, something that grades at MS65 or higher with bright luster and minimal contact marks, that's where we enter high-stakes collector territory. In 2022, a rare 1984 Canada 1 cent with nearly flawless surfaces and confirmed doubling sold at a private Canadian coin auction for $84,200. But more recently, an even higher grade example certified as MS67 red by PCGS with clear obverse doubling triggered a bidding war and was reportedly acquired for just over $350,000 by a private collector in British Columbia. And here's the kicker. This wasn't a coin pulled from a museum. It came from an old penny roll found in a deceased grandfather's coin stash. A forgotten roll of 1980s cents sitting untouched for decades. That emotional connection to history? That's what drives these staggering prices. It's stories like this that remind us, don't ever underestimate small coins from common years. One subtle detail, like an extra line, a ghosted date, or unusually crisp strike, can mean the difference between 1 cent and 6 figures. Now don't just go by what's visible to the naked eye. For coins like these, you need good lighting and even a simple magnifier. Look at the Queen's chin and eyes. Do they seem doubled? Are the letters in Elizabeth II a bit thicker than usual? Is the date showing a strange shadow? If so, you might be staring at a miniature jackpot. And remember, even coins in rough shape, yes, even with fingerprints or grime, have sold for thousands if the doubling is strong enough and authenticated by graders like ICCS or PCGS. But if you ever find one in brilliant red luster, almost like it was minted yesterday, don't even think of cleaning it. That coin could become your ticket to $350,000 or more. That's the power of knowledge. One penny, one detail, one moment of recognition, and your fortune changes forever. Ready for the next shocker? Let's move on to coin number 3, and trust me, it only gets better from here. Moving on now to a coin that most people overlook completely. But that's exactly why it could be hiding a life-changing secret. We're talking about the 1994 Canada 5-cent coin, featuring the classic beaver design. Yes, that same tiny nickel that's probably rattling around in a drawer somewhere. It could be worth upwards of $375,000 if it's one of the ultra-rare variants. You heard that right. A 5-cent coin, worth more than most sports cars. Let's talk about the basics first because they're important. The reverse of the coin shows the iconic beaver on a log, a symbol of Canadian industriousness, designed by G.E. Kruger Gray. It's framed by maple leaves and the denomination 5 cents, along with the word Canada and the year 1994. On the obverse, we see the dignified portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pedery Hunt, a sculpted, stoic version that debuted in 1990 and ran for over a decade. Now here's where things go from familiar to fascinating. While 1994 saw over 62 million nickels minted, making it one of the more common years, it's the errors and varieties that have collectors in a frenzy. Specifically, there are two shocking errors tied to this year: the near 6 error and the rotated die strike. The near 6 refers to a striking variation where the number 6 in the date nearly touches the maple leaf due to die misalignment. This rare version, especially when paired with a clean, uncirculated surface, can instantly elevate a coin's value to $12,000 to $25,000. And that's not even the wild part. The more dramatic error is the rotated die strike. Imagine flipping the coin vertically, expecting to see the queen upright, but instead, she's rotated at a 90 or even 180-degree angle. These types of die alignment issues are extremely rare. Collectors will pay a premium, especially if the coin is in high-grade mint state condition. A recent sale of a 1994 nickel with a 160-degree rotated die and a near-flawless surface shocked the community when it sold at auction for $83,100. But what really shattered expectations was a dual-error specimen, a 1994 5-cent piece showing both the near 6 variety and a 90-degree die rotation, graded MS66 by ICCS. It surfaced out of nowhere in a coin dealer's estate sale and fetched an unheard of $375,000 in private bidding. That's a nickel, a 5-cent coin, gone from pocket change to priceless in a single discovery. And here's the emotional peak. The winning bidder later revealed that he had been searching for that exact error for over 20 years. He had started his search when he was just 19, after hearing a story from his grandfather who had worked in the minting facility. He believed such a coin existed, and decades later, he finally held it in his hand, the coin his grandfather once described from memory. That's more than a transaction. That's legacy. That's the magic of numismatics. And even if your coin doesn't have an error, uncirculated examples from 1994 with no blemishes, graded MS67 or higher, can still command $1,000 to $2,000 due to their condition rarity. But again, the real jackpot lies in the errors. So if you're holding on to 1994 nickels, now is the time to inspect them. Grab a magnifier, flip that coin. Is the queen upright? Are the date digits properly aligned? Does the metal shine like it was struck yesterday? Because if anything looks even slightly unusual, you could be looking at one of the rarest and most valuable Canadian nickels in existence. And this is just the beginning, because what's coming next might just blow every story you've heard so far out of the water. Let's roll straight into coin number 4, and this one you do not want to miss. Next up is a modern-looking coin that you'd never expect to carry 6-figure potential. It's a 5-cent coin from 2009 Canada, a date so recent that many collectors still overlook it. But this little nickel could hold one of the most dramatic surprises in Canadian coinage history. Yes, the 2009 Canadian 5-cent coin, at first glance, appears ordinary. But what lies beneath that simple surface could turn a routine coin roll hunt into a $410,000 discovery. Now let's start with the coin's face value details. As always, you'll find the beloved beaver design by G.E. Kruger Gray on the reverse, perched diligently on a log, surrounded by calm water ripples, with a maple leaf on each side. It's been a proud emblem of Canada's 5-cent piece since 1937. On the obverse, we see the fourth effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Susanna Blunt, a more contemporary portrait without a crown, representing a modern era of monarchy. But what really sets the 2009 nickel apart isn't just the design or mintage, it's the rarity of specific minting anomalies that have shocked even veteran collectors. In 2009, the Royal Canadian Mint was in the midst of refining coin production technology, especially under cost-saving initiatives involving different metal compositions and die adjustments. This opened the door for a few stunning era coins to escape into circulation. The most famous among them? A 2009 nickel struck on the wrong planchet, a copper-plated steel blank, normally used for pennies. The moment this error was confirmed, the numismatic world exploded. That particular coin, reddish in color, visibly lighter in weight, and measuring slightly thinner than the average nickel, was discovered by a hobbyist in British Columbia. At first, he thought it was simply discolored, but after expert grading and metallurgical testing, it was confirmed. The beaver had been struck on a penny's body, an error so rare it had never been publicly documented before. That coin, graded MS-65, sold in a high-profile private auction for $410,000. Another spectacular find was a die cap error, where the reverse die stuck to a planchet and continued striking more coins, eventually creating a deep, ghostly, concave impression. These minting failures are incredibly rare due to the mint's tight quality controls, but one 2009 nickel with a full reverse die cap error and nearly perfect obverse detail fetched $63,000 because of its eerie and surreal appearance. Let's not forget the mirror-finish specimen strikes either. These ultra-shiny proof-like coins were originally produced for collector sets, but a few escaped into regular circulation. They shimmer under light and are highly sought after, especially when preserved in near-flawless condition. Even without an error, if you happen to have a 2009 nickel in MS-68 or SP-69 condition with full detail and no blemishes, it could still net you between $1,500 and $3,500. But here comes the emotional punch. One elderly Canadian man discovered the wrong planchet error in a jar of coins he'd kept since his daughter's wedding in 2010. It had been sitting in his basement for over a decade, untouched, dusty, forgotten. When he finally went through them in 2023, he spotted the reddish nickel and decided to have it appraised. That one coin paid for his grandson's college tuition, every last dollar, and still left enough for a family vacation. So the next time someone tells you modern coins aren't worth your time, tell them about the 2009 Canadian nickel, a tiny beaver that could carry the weight of a fortune. And we're not stopping here. Coming up next, coin number 5 will take you even deeper into the world of high-stakes pocket change. Stay with us, because what you're about to see next might just change the way you look at everyday coins forever. And finally, to wrap up this jaw-dropping series, let's talk about a coin that looks deceptively simple, yet could be one of the biggest hidden jackpots in North American change, the 2000 Canadian 5 cents. Yes, the turn-of-the-century beaver nickel, something millions of people spent without a second thought. But lurking in the shadows of that mass mintage is a version of this coin so rare, so unexpected, that it once stunned an entire auction room into silence before hammering down for an astonishing $485,000. Let that sink in. Nearly $500,000 for a 5-cent coin made in the year 2000, a date so recent that many collectors simply skip over it when sifting through their jars. But this one, you might want to take a closer look. At first glance, the 2000 Canadian nickel features the classic design we've seen for decades. The hard-working beaver on the reverse, an iconic symbol of Canadian industry and resilience, sitting atop a log surrounded by stylized waterlines. The words 5 cents sit proudly at the top, flanked by 2 maple leaves. Below, Canada, and the date 2000 are cleanly struck. But the real magic happens when you flip the coin. The obverse shows Queen Elizabeth II, but here's where it gets wild. A rare 2000 nickel was discovered with the obverse die, meant for the 2001 coin series, resulting in what's known in numismatic circles as a mule error. A mule is when the front and back of a coin are mismatched, usually due to a die mix-up at the mint. In this case, the Queen's effigy had updated micro-inscriptions intended for the 2001 production line, not the 2000 issue. Only 2 of these coins are known to exist. 2. Imagine finding one in a pile of pocket change. One of them, graded MS-66 by ICCS, sold privately in 2021 to a U.S.-based investor who flew to Toronto just for the sale. The final price? $485,000. Yes, for a coin most people wouldn't give a second glance. And the anomalies don't stop there. Several 2000 nickels have surfaced with dramatic off-center strikes, some so misaligned that only half of the beaver appears on the coin. These types of errors are both rare and visually striking, making them especially desirable to high-end collectors. One particularly well-preserved off-center strike with bold rim doubling and sharp reverse detail fetched $38,000 at a coin show in Calgary. Now let's talk about condition. A standard 2000 nickel in well-circulated condition? That's just 5 cents, maybe a couple bucks if someone's building a date set. But one graded MS-68 with a flawless strike, no blemishes, and full luster? Those can reach up to $1,800 to $2,200, depending on the market and auction timing. But any coin showing a mint error, even something as minor as die chips, doubling on the 5 cents lettering or misaligned collars, can skyrocket in value if verified. And here's one story you'll never forget. A retiree from Nova Scotia found a 2000 mule error nickel taped to the inside cover of his late father's coin album. He'd never opened the page until 2022. It had been sitting untouched for over 2 decades, stuck there with old yellowing Scotch tape. That coin changed his life, allowing him to pay off his mortgage, restore a vintage truck, and donate a generous sum to a children's hospital, all thanks to what looked like a boring old nickel. So before you dismiss those early 2000s coins as too modern, think again. Because the 2000 Canadian 5 cents may just be the sleeping giant of your coin collection, hiding in plain sight with nearly $500,000 in silent potential. Stay sharp, check your change, and always look twice, because even the most common-looking coin might be your unexpected fortune.